Oh, hello, Hythloday. This is Inventive Harvest. I wanted to make a response video and say a few things about the video you recently made that had the clips from all the movies about how much control we have in our lives and how much is just dumb luck. I don't really have a whole lot of answers, but I wanted to just mention some things, mostly as a chance to gripe about statistics, because statistics often bugs me. So here we go. Okay, so your video had clips from movies, labeling this Coach Carter versus Titanic. It's a question about fate and control. Where in the Coach Carter video there was a clip regarding people in South Central Los Angeles and how they maybe didn't have a whole lot of choice on their lives, and it was juxtaposed with the Titanic video and other videos. And then people in the Titanic video were wearing tuxedos and were talking about how they made their own luck and how it was choices they made, why they were in the social position that they were. I also liked a lot of the clips from the House show and that kind of stuff. There was some really great juxtaposition in your video. So again, it's about fate and control, which is sort of like the predestination versus free will debate. Not exactly, but I brought that up because, you know, in logic, it's often these dichotomies. It's this or it's this, and it's this or it's this. Right? There will be people that argue for predestination or people that argue for free will, but not very many will say, oh, well, it's both. And I think, you know, in the videos you showed, there's definitely a case for it's not completely one or the other in these cases. So I thought I'd bring that up. It all comes down to social mobility, and the question that you ask is, well, if people, the poor people are better off now than they were in the past, does equality matter so much? And again, I don't have that many answers, but I will talk about that a little bit. I want to talk about stats a bunch. Here we have our friend, the normal curve, and it's a way to talk about and test data. So there'll be a bunch of data points, and you know, sometimes they're out here too, right? So there's data, and what the meaning of the normal curve, it's a probability density function, and it basically just says that things are centered around an average, you know, that most things are typical or average. And, you know, out here are the outliers. I liked how in your video you had this one outlier, and he was saying, "Oh, look at me! I'm so awesome for being an outlier." It was just I thought that was really funny. And we're kind of juxtaposing that with this one, which is data points where this is the, what do we call it? The bimodal distribution, where there's two humps. There's definitely some inequality going on, and a lack of the middle. Now, stats can have problems with this kind of stuff. First, let me talk about these outliers. Now, outliers like this guy here have a tendency to distort the mean, the average. So, like if there's one really extreme example, like this guy, let's say this is income, and some guy makes, you know, billions of dollars, he's way out here, that's going to bring the mean out this way, to the point where it's not actually representative of what's going on in the middle. And with that, so often statisticians, economists will exclude the outliers, and just not put them in the data set, so that it doesn't have that distortion. But then what happens is, well, what happened was they didn't notice that thing with the 1% for so long, was because they were just, oh, we're not even going to look at those people, you know, people that own Walmart and stuff that have so much wealth. And so they missed a big part of the economy. There's going to be similar problems here, where they're not going to notice the missing middle. Basically, we have tests to test if a data set can be approximated by a normal curve. And these tests have to do with the moments. So the first moment is the mean. The second moment is the dispersion, the deviation. So here's the mean in the middle. The dispersion is how wide this hump is. I'm sure I'm telling you things you already know. The third is skewness. And that's, if this hump is lopsided to one side or the other, that'll be the skewness. And if it's humped too much to one way or the other, then it won't pass our tests to see if the data set is approximately normal. And the fourth one is called kurtosis. And it's the fatness of the tails. If the tails are too fat, then it'd be more appropriate to approximate it with like a student t distribution or that kind of thing. Now here, so look at our graphs. The first test, the first moment, our mean on these things are going to be at the same point, so that's not going to tell us anything. As far as the deviation goes, the distance from here to the middle and here to the middle, right, is the same here. See what I'm getting at? And then skewness, these are both symmetrical. And then kurtosis, these have the same tails. So a data set that looks like this is very likely to pass our tests for a normal distribution. And so economists might not even realize that there is this kind of thing going on with the missing middle. I just think there's often, big problems with stats. Stats can be so blind, even with large data sets. Here's an interesting one. Okay, so here I've got a normal, here's a bimodal distribution, but this is kind of interesting where most people are centered around the mean here in a normal distribution. And then, but it's an income distribution. Here's a bunch of people that make no money. They're broke. They have no job, and so they're going to be all lined up on this zero. So there's two separate distributions going on here. Figure out probability. You have to, if you wanted to figure out probability that someone makes between $50,000 or $60,000, right? This area here. You'd have to figure out where they are in the normal and then kind of multiply that by the number of people here that all make $0. And this can be a big problem for statistics because the probability that anyone is at any one given point is 0. Because we can only test for intervals, if they're between $50,000 and $60,000, then there's a probability. But because, this is on a density of a real number line, then for any one point, it's got 0 space here, 0 width, so that the probability is 0. And so in stats, it's a big problem at this 0 point for the people that are making no money. They all, let's say this is 30,000 people that make no money, but they each do that with a probability of 0. It can be tough for stats to find this kind of thing. And I'm not really making any points here. I just wanted to complain a little bit about stats.